About a year ago, Tottenham were in a really bad place. They were very close to the bottom half of the table, results weren't going their way, and the club had just decided to sack Mauricio Pochettino, who only recently had guided Spurs to the final of the Champions League where they lost to Liverpool. That was the time when Spurs were expected to finally announce themselves as genuine title contenders. However, for whatever reason, things started going downhill. Bereft of confidence and morale, Daniel Levy decided to call upon the services of Jose Mourinho. The Portuguese tactician was fired during a similar period at Manchester United. The Special One's relationship with the club's senior hierarchy and some of the players had been deteriorating, and that was affecting the team's performances on the field. Once he was sacked, there was an upturn in the team's results. Mourinho, on the other hand, decided to take a break and became a football analyst, offering some really great insights into how football clubs are run, and truth be told, was a really great analyst indeed. However, once Pochettino got the boot, the former Chelsea manager decided to re-enter the world of football management. Safe to say, the Portuguese tactician is a controversial character and wasn't universally welcomed. His style of play, the baggage that he carries, and the manner in which he at times throws his players under the bus are part of the rubble he leaves behind every time he ends association with a football club. Mourinho would never hesitate when it comes to taking on a club's senior management head-on, which is why he's a very difficult person to deal with. When he was handed the Tottenham reins, the Spurs were in 14th place in the league standings after just 12 games and had only 14 points to show for their efforts. By the end of the season, however, Spurs managed to finish in 6th place and booked a place in the Europa League for this season. Tottenham weren't the most free-flowing team under Mourinho last season, but they got the right results. He was able to reduce the deficit considerably, and perhaps had he been hired sooner, Tottenham would have been in the top 4 and playing Champions League football at the expense of either Man United or Chelsea. At the weekend, Spurs briefly went on top of the Premier League standings, following a 1-0 win over West Brom. This is the first time in 6 years that Spurs have managed to be on the league summit, and while that was a momentary event, it was indicative of how far the team has come under a man whose reputation was seemingly in tatters when he was shown the door at Old Trafford. As things stand, Spurs are in 2nd place in the league standings with 17 points from 8 games and are trailing Leicester by just a point. They've scored 19 goals in the process, which is something you'd normally never associate with a team managed by Mourinho. Galvanised by a red-hot Harry Kane who's simply forgotten how not to score goals, Mourinho's men are on a mission. The last time Tottenham ruled England was back in the 1960-61 campaign. 60 years later, Jose Mourinho is primed to flirt with destiny and do something no manager has done for 6 decades. If he manages to do that, he would himself concede this as his biggest achievement, even bigger than the 2nd place finish at United, which he considers so. Kane scored the winner against West Brom, which was his 150th goal in the Premier League. The England international is in fine form, and so is Heung-min Son, who's becoming a more well-rounded forward, scoring and providing on a consistent basis. The arrival of Gareth Bale further adds more firepower to the attacking department. But this season, despite flying high, Tottenham have shown slight inconsistencies when it comes to their overall displays. Indeed, while he's masterminded big wins over the likes of Man United and Southampton, the performances are still a little too inconsistent for the team to be considered genuine title contenders this season, at least not right now. Talk of title credentials is always premature, especially when the season is only 8 games old, and during the 1-0 win over West Brom, it was clear that Tottenham are still behind the likes of Liverpool and Man City when it comes to finishing off teams who aren't doing well. The Baggies have been abysmal since their return to top-flight football, and Spurs struggled to really test their goal during the first half. In fact, they could only muster 1 shot in the opening 45, something that's happened the 3rd time since Mourinho became the club's manager. In contrast, this phenomenon occurred only 4 times during Pochettino's reign, with the Argentine managing the team in 202 league games. Although he's won a lot of trophies in what must be considered a storied career, Jose Mourinho has carried the label of a defensive career and a man who's well behind the times. Pochettino in this context was a much more evolved tactician and preferred a high-energy style of play. Perhaps the reason why Jose Mourinho was hired in the first place was to help the team get its defensive issues sorted out. Before his arrival, Spurs were conceding goals from all sorts of situations, and the Portuguese's arrival stemmed the flow of such goals. Mourinho is an ardent supporter of pragmatic, risk-free football, which is what we saw a lot of during his early days as a Premier League manager at Chelsea. While it's not everyone's cup of tea, that strategy did guide the Blues to a lot of success on the domestic front. The siege mentality that Mourinho instills in his players allows them to be mentally stronger while also protecting them from the media. However, when he puts too much pressure on his players, the results can have devastating consequences. At Real Madrid, Mourinho alienated Iker Casillas and eventually relegated him to the bench. He also had issues with the likes of Sergio Ramos and Isco. During his early days, Mourinho even ostracised Tanguy Ndombele, with the France international always facing some sort of criticism from his manager. The former Lyon man was even forced into putting in extra hours in training and, according to reports, decided to stop playing under Mourinho at one point. However, the tough love act with Ndombele is reaping its rewards, with the dynamic midfielder enjoying a fine campaign. On the defensive front, Tottenham are doing really well. They've conceded 9 goals in 8 games, but overall, they've proven themselves to be a very difficult team to score against. The arrival of Sergio Reguilón has really added an enterprising presence down the left channel. The young Spaniard is defensively very solid, and his output in the attacking phase is really very good. While he might end up rejoining Real Madrid due to a clause in his contract, the youngster is going to play a massive role in helping the team become a more exciting team while going forward. Similarly, Eric Lamella's career has been rejuvenated. The Argentine was used decently enough, but never found his feet. However, under Mourinho, the former Roma man is getting better and is now making full use of his opportunities that are being presented to him. Eric Dyer might not have been given a lot of credit, but the Englishman's versatility is helping him stay in his manager's good graces. He might never become the team's main man, but the former Sporting Lisbon man has been very stable at the back. Harry Kane's gameplay has changed considerably. From a striker who would score goals for fun, he's now turned into a striker who loves to be more involved in attacking transitions and has gotten his hands on quite a few assists already this season. While we all know how good he is, Heung-min Son has gone into full beast mode, with the Korean international returning from his country's mandatory military boot camp as a more focused individual. The former Bayer Leverkusen man is one of the most important members of the starting 11, and Mourinho would be hoping to see his star player stay fit. Gareth Bale has returned to the club where he became such a big star and has been slowly introduced into the rigours of Premier League football again. The Wales international is still finding his rhythm, but you can be sure that once he has enough minutes under his belt, the Real Madrid loanee will return to being the force of nature we all know he is. So, are Tottenham in with a chance to win the league? Well, to be fair, results like the win against West Brom are the sort of games that win you titles. It isn't necessarily how dominating you are and how good you are at obliterating your opponents. It all comes down to how you find a way around a difficult opponent, not enjoy the best of days on the field and still come away with a win. That is something Mourinho has done for the most part of his career. His teams played boring football. They were never very exciting to watch, but they always won titles. Perhaps this is the mentality Tottenham badly need if they are to finally win something of note. Against Fulham, you would call the Tottenham display atrocious, but they still managed to win the game despite their attackers seeming to forget to bring their shooting boots. However, the Premier League is unique in a sense that even a team mired at the bottom of the table could end up walloping you on its day. So yes, thinking that Tottenham can go all the way and lift the title is not a surprising claim. Their position at the table backs this statement, and so does the quality Jose Mourinho has at his disposal. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to how good Mourinho is at managing a team that has seen previous title bids evaporate after a few bad results. It happened when Leicester won the title, and a couple of years back as well. Sustaining a title charge is what Spurs are going to need, and when it comes to such scenarios, Mourinho is the best in the business. He might resort to boring football to get the job done, but as long as the team manages to somehow finally create history, everyone would be happy.